Hi everyone, Bruce here at etrailer. Today we're going to take a look at and install our Air Lift LoadLifter 5000 series airbags on our 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500. Carrying heavy cargo in your truck bed or trailer puts extra stress on your truck. Your brakes erode faster, your tires wear unevenly, and handling suffers severely. When towing, you might also experience excessive sway, bottoming out, and even inaccurate and unsafe headlight aim. By pairing your existing suspension with LoadLifter 5000 Ultimate Air Springs, you can seriously beef up your suspension, ensure equal load distribution, and get the support you need. The springs provide up to 5,000 pounds of load leveling capacity and distribute the weight of your payload to all four wheels. Now, these springs do have a load leveling capacity of 5,000 pounds, but keep in mind that does not increase your vehicle's capacity to actually haul more weight. So check your owner's manual and stay within those weight limits listed in there. Now, with this kit we did install today, we also installed an onboard air compressor. But if you didn't get the onboard air compressor, you're actually going to have two valves, one for each side. That way you could potentially have one side with more air in it than the other and adjust your load that way. But in the end, you can adjust these from 5 to 100 PSI. So you should be good to go ahead and level your truck out with any load you may have. Now, as far as the install goes, it's really not too bad. If you don't want to go ahead and tackle this yourself, check out our dealer locator on etrailer.com. But if you do want to do it yourself and you're a DIYer, stick around, I'll show you how. To begin our installation, we're going to grab a 13mm socket. We do have to remove two 13mm factory bolts here that are holding the brake line bracket up. We do have to remove the bolts, but we're going to keep the bracket. Now that we do have that loose, we do got to put some spacers back there and some longer M8 bolts. So we need to go ahead and grab a spacer and an M8 bolt with a M8 washer on it. The spacer is going to go back behind the bracket, and we're going to screw those bolts from the kit right back into the factory locations. Now we just need to go ahead and snug these up, and there is a torque spec on those in your manufacturer's specifications, so if you don't have a torque wrench, we do have them here at etrailer, or you can rent one from your local auto parts store.
Okay, and we are rolling.
Now on our next step, you may need a floor jack to go ahead and stick up underneath your receiver tube on your truck so you can go ahead and lift the suspension a little bit to give us a little more room because we need to remove the jounce bumpers with a 10mm socket. Now we've got a transmission jack here, but if you're at home, you can use a floor jack. Just make sure everything's nice and secure and safe. Let's go ahead and grab our 10mm, and we're gonna go ahead and get our jounce bumper off, and you're gonna do the same thing. We are on the driver's side, you're gonna do the same thing on the passenger side. So now we got to go ahead and take these wire guards off here. It's going to be a T40. We've got 3 of those, 1, 2, and 3. We'll remove that, and you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now save these bolts and that wire guard because we will be using it later. All right, we need to go ahead and grab a 13mm. We do have to remove this brake line bracket here. Basically what we're gonna do is remove this bolt. We're gonna reuse this bolt. We're gonna take this bracket off. We're gonna drop it down, and the factory bolt's gonna go back into here, and then our bracket will mount on the back of this tab. Let's go ahead and get that removed, and you'll have to do the same thing on the other side. bracket. Now we need to go ahead and grab our shorter bolt with a nylock nut and a washer. And we go ahead and mount our bracket to that drop bracket that we just put in. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a 13mm wrench and tighten this up. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab our forward clamp bracket here. So there is no left and right on this. And basically this notch here is gonna face up. So we're gonna take this and go to the front side of the axle. Just take this and here's where our bump stop hits. And that bracket's just gonna lay up under there and just lay there for now. You're gonna do the same thing to the other side. Now we need to go ahead and grab our bottom plates. We do have to build our air springs here. So we're gonna grab our bottom plates. Just notice the orientation of these. I have them down because we've got countersunk holes here. We're going to flip that down. And then we're gonna put our carriage bolts in these two positions. And I'm building these at the same time just to make it easier. And we're gonna be screwing the actual air spring into these two holes here. So we're gonna grab our plate, and you notice the two holes there. This hole doesn't matter on the bottom side. We're just gonna line those up. And then I'm gonna take one of these plates and I'm gonna just flip it over to here, making sure I've got my carriage bolt in there. Then we're gonna take our bolts here and we're going to go ahead and screw them down. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. And we're going to go ahead and torque these bolts down to the manufacturer's instructions. So pay attention to the orientation when you do bolt these up. Our air fittings go here, and you want those on opposite sides. I made the mistake, I had this fitting on this side, so I had to go ahead and spin that around. But we're gonna go ahead and take our airline fitting and we're going to go ahead and screw that into each of these. You just snug them up. And it doesn't matter the orientation, like this is facing that way because these do swivel. We'll do the same thing on the other one. Now we can take our upper roll plate and our upper bracket. Our roll plate will go on first. The big hole will go over the air fitting here. And then we'll take our upper bracket and this notch will face the airline fitting. And then we'll take our 3/8 bolts, a flat washer, and a lock washer, and go ahead and attach these. And we're gonna do the same thing to the other. Now that you do have these bolts in, we do need to go ahead and torque them down to the manufacturer's instructions. Once we do have our brackets torqued down, we do need to measure the height between the bracket here and the top of our air fitting. And we need to be less than 7/8 of an inch. If you're not, you need to go ahead and lower it down. We are good to go on both of them. Now that we do have our airbags put together, we're gonna go ahead and install them on the vehicle. So this back part here that has the two bolt holes here, that will face the rear. Your fitting will face the tire on both sides. So this is the driver's side we're doing. You're just gonna do the same thing on the passenger side. It's a little bit tricky to get up in here, so You just got to kind of work it around everything. Watching your brake lines, you don't break any of them. And we'll set that there for now. Now earlier we did say to go ahead and put the front bracket on and just let it sit here like so. But you can't really do that when you're trying to get all this in here, so we opted to take it out. We can always put it in now, which is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna grab a carriage bolt, that front bracket. Now this little T portion here, or this little raised portion here, is gonna go into our groove of our lower bracket. Like so, we'll take our carriage bolt, run it through the top. Go ahead and grab a flange nut and just go ahead and hand tighten for now. Now going to the back side of this, we got to grab the bracket that goes in the back. Again, the raised portion is going to go in the groove of our lower plate. And we just got to snake this guy in here. And this is the carriage bolt we put in when we assembled the springs. And then we take another carriage bolt and run it through the top. Grab our flange nuts. And again, just hand tighten for now. We're going to grab our U-bolt and we're going to take the U-bolt around the frame. Like so. And then we'll do the same thing to this side. Now that we've got the U-bolts around the frame, we do need to go ahead and lower the vehicle that we raised up earlier to give us room. We're going to go ahead and lower that down, and then we're going to get our flange nuts on our U-bolts. Now that we lowered the vehicle, we can get our U-bolts in the corresponding holes and get our flange nuts on. This is on the back side. We got to do the same thing on the front side of this bracket. And now it's time to go ahead and put our flange nuts on. Again, we're just going to finger tight for now. So now that we have the airbags on and all of our hardware in place, we just want to make sure that this is perpendicular with the frame and we're not cockeyed in any way. And then we can go ahead and torque down our bolts to the manufacturer specifications. All these are the same torque specs, so we're just going to keep going and get them all tight. So now that we do have our air springs all torqued down, we need to go ahead and put the wire guard back on. Now, if it doesn't line up, we can, like on this bottom one here, it's not going to line up. So we can take a die grinder and go ahead and wobble out that hole a little bit so we can get that to line up. We're just trying to make that hole a little bigger so we can get it lined up. And it looks like we're just about there. Now these are the factory bolts that we took out to remove this. You're just going to replace those. We can go ahead and tighten them up now. Repeat this on the other side. Now that you do have the wire guards back in place, it's time to go ahead and run our air lines. Now our setup is a little different than what you're going to see if you don't use a compressor. We actually hooked up a compressor to these as well. But if you're not using the compressor, all you're going to do is take an air line with this fitting on it, and you're going to drill a hole, 5/16 inch hole like this, through here, and you're going to run the air line that way. You can run the second airbag, you can put on top of here or on the bottom, or you could actually put it over here. It's really your choice. So if we get up underneath the vehicle, I'll show you the one route we took going straight back to the airbag here. So here's our air line poking through. It runs up over the bed rails here, right here. It runs around, and we're going to a T fitting, but you would just go directly to the airbag fitting. Now, running your air lines back from the bumper, you're going to attach one of your air lines to this 90-degree fitting on the driver's side, and then you're going to do that same thing on the passenger side. Again, like I mentioned before, we're doing an onboard compressor setup, so it's going to look a little different than what you're going to do. It's actually easier because you're just running two lines. So now that you got your air lines connected, in order for you to test them, you're going to have to go ahead and get compressed air and fill each one up. I recommend going up to 50 PSI in both of them. Now that we do have it pumped up to 50 PSI, we're going to go ahead and check our fittings for any leaks. Take some soapy water, spray them down real good, and do that on each connection. And it looks like we're good there. We'll move on and check the other ones. Now that you went ahead and tested for air leaks, if you didn't find anything, great job. But if you did find a couple, just go ahead and take that air line back out, make a cleaner cut on the airline tube, and put it back in and retest it. That does complete our installation of the Air Lift Wireless 1 onboard air compressor on our 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500. I'm Bruce. Thanks for watching.